Let's try to remember our names this week.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Coraquest, episode 123, the 2023 preview. I'm Steve Tudor.
I'm Sid Gill.
Hang on.
Someone's thrown an anchor out the window of that one.
Yeah, well played, sir. Well played.
Oh, gotcha.
I nearly carried on. I didn't even clutch.
Ernie Joshing, I'm Andy Lewis.
And I'm Sid Gill. Honestly, real one. The first one. Bonafide.
Bonafide. Happy New Year, gents.
Happy New Year, boss.
Well, it's New Year at least.
Well, yeah.
It's a happy one.
Happy TBC.
As I was saying earlier, I think we're now on Groundhog Day. The normal working week has resumed and the normal tedium has resumed.
Yeah.
But let's looking back. Did everyone have a good Christmas?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, as far as Christmases go, yes. Yes, it was all right.
Santa bring you any gaming delights?
No.
Sort of.
Sort of.
He brought the boy a lot of gaming delights.
Oh, well.
So he's done well there. But he mostly brought me booze and food, which, frankly,
that's not a bad thing,
I'm quite
is it?
satisfied with.
Honestly, speaking of booze, Jesus, we had a few folk over for Christmas, so my mum and a few friends and sort of their sort of families. There's 8 of us in total. And the week before, we obviously did some Christmas shopping, and Sainsbury's had a bit of an offer on wine. So we took advantage of said offer, and we ended up with something like 6 or 7 bottles of wine, mostly red. And then, of course, I at the end of the year, I got a few bottles from work, which is very nice. Thank you very much, work, for being awesome. And that was another 4 bottles. So then...
How many are left, Andy?
3. But then, of course, people come over for Christmas and they bring more wine. We had, no word of a lie, 22 bottles of wine and fizz for Christmas Day. I should point out, we did not drink them all. Till Boxing Day.
Yeah, I was going to say, they must have gone because you only have 3 left.
Oh, goodness me. No, well, I don't know how many. Well, yeah, but some of the people who brought them took them away again because they weren't drunk. So it wasn't just a massive booze fest. But my God, I looked around the kitchen and went, oh my God.
Odd bins in your kitchen.
It's the first recycling pickup day after Christmas, isn't it?
Do you know what? I miss that. I miss not being in the flat for that, clinking my bottles down the stairs, waking up the old people. Because now that we could recycle in a recycling bin, which frankly is the future, I've lost that. I've lost my clinking and clanking down after Christmas.
My recycling, because I've got a pull-out bin in the kitchen, as you two know, and there's like one for recycling and one for like regular bin waste, and the recycling bit of it was literally just full of cans and bottles. Squished the cans down, they're all compressed at the bottom, covered in glass bottles, and there's the odd bit of paper stuck on top. Trying to shift it all out into the main bin, you have to kind of shoehorn it out because it's undergone that much compression, because no one can be arsed taking it out for like a day, so you keep pushing it down to try and get more in. Then you're shouting outside of the hangover, come on you bastard, get out! Make life fun.
Well, it's over now, and it's back to normal.
Normality's resumed, and yes, I feel in the depression of having to go back to the normal grindstone, I must admit. So, why don't we cheer ourselves up, guys, and let's look forward to the year about some of the exciting games we could indeed be playing over the next 12 months.
A very solid
What we should do is approach 2023 arse first, looking backwards over 2022. That's what we should do.
Hang on, we do that like 3 weeks ago?
No.
Well, yes.
Well, yes, but what I mean is, what we should do is look at how we spectacularly failed in to achieve what we set out to at the end of 21.
Oh, I see. So what we talked about last year.
1 year ago, probably almost to the day.
Now,
here we go.
My memory's not what it used to be. I can't remember what we talked about last year.
Well,
and I was foolish enough not to go back and listen.
Well, thankfully, we have an eager beaver called Rory who did it for us. So he took it out, got the list, and put it here. Sadly, he is unable to join us this evening, which is a bit of a shame, for he has got the lurgy what is going round. So we're going to have to do his job for him, unfortunately. So hopefully he'll get well soon. But he did list what we looked at last year, what we were looking forward to in receiving and playing in 2022.
He's a good lad, isn't he?
He is.
Oh, he is indeed. Yeah, he's
Yes, it's true. He makes the rest of us look bad.
Shows us all up, but yeah. I admit, I'm looking for this list, and our predictions were terrible, weren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, we were still a year ago. We were still on the end of all of the unspecified virus of unknown origin causing chaos. So there were a lot of things delayed. But I think looking at the list we have, I think about 6 of them actually turned up or have been acquired in whatever they were. But we've looked at about 3 of them.
Yes. That's what I said. We've been rubbish.
Well, we've got about a 50% hit rate, I reckon. Of the thing. I mean, there's a lot of asterisks after this, like what we've received, when we received it, with specific dates, etc., etc. But yeah, I think of the stuff we have received, we've got about a 50% hit rate, which sounds a lot better than 3 out of 10.
It's all about spin, Andy, isn't it?
It's all about massaging the figures.
Exactly.
So what we got on this list then? So I know I'm looking down this. We've got Weather Machine,
Which I have now received. I got it 4 days ago as we record this podcast. I have opened it. I have sorted it out. I have checked that the rulebook is still there, and it is a paltry 24 pages rather than the regulation 28 from a Mr. Lacerda. But it all looks very, very nice and is typically in keeping with a Lacerda/Eagle Griffin game. And I put it on the shelf.
Indeed, that makes sense. That you're going to have to set aside like a weekend just to learn the setup.
It's a 4-page setup in the rulebook.
God.
2 pages for the main board and 2 pages for your player board. It's mad.
So running on down the rest of the list, we've got a few RPGs on the next. We've got Blade Runner,
Which we've all got.
Which arrived.
which we've all got, but none of us have played. We've got
I haven't even taken it out of the box.
Have you not?
No, I just looked at yours, admired your copies, and left mine in its box out there.
Still in its box on the sofa.
Oh dear. We've got the Mothership RPG, which, although we got PDFs, the physical copy didn't turn up.
That's right. It's coming soon, apparently.
Yeah. Homeworld RPG.
I have that. I've read about half of it, and it is basically Star Trek in Star Trek in another coat. Annoyingly, though, it's very lovely. It's great, and I really would like to play it. But the main book doesn't have a pre-baked adventure in it at all. But you have to get the starter set, which is a bit weird. Yes, so I'm going to have to do some work and create my own adventure instead. God damn it.
Lords above, it'll be 2025 before we get hit.
And the rest.
And the last RPG on the list was Rivers of London, which I don't think any of us bought, but I think it came out just before Christmas. So I didn't see a big fanfare when this came out. I just randomly decided to look one day and went, oh, it came out. Oh well. So maybe we might pick that up later in the new year. So we've got quite a few delayed Kickstarters on this list, though. Chronos Builder.
It is out on Steam. So it's a piece of software. This isn't a game. It's an accoutrement, which is essentially a sort of very nice, sexy 3D dungeon builder, basically. So not unlike things like Dungeon Craft, Incarnate, things like that. But it's a very much more involved one. You can build 3D dungeons with full lighting and all that sort of jazz. So it is available on Steam. I can't remember if it's actually been fully released yet, but it's definitely available for those of us who have backed it. And I have it. I've poked it a couple of times and thought, that's going to be a lot of effort, and then closed it. But the results you get with it look amazing. So I hold once I can get some time to poke it properly, I'm holding out quite a lot of hope that I can make some very sexy maps.
Cool. So in the world of board games, I think we've got a couple more delayed. Dawn of Madness, I think, is still delayed.
Still in development.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I think they've had, if I remember from the recent updates, they've had like a couple of the first sort of production copies of various things, but I honestly can't remember. So they're still tweaking rules and bits and bobs as far as I remember. I've only kept half an eye on it because it's been in development that long. I've kind of just sort of given up and gone, it'll turn up whenever it is, and I'm sure it'll be ace, but God knows.
We also said we were looking forward to Great Western Trail New Zealand. which I'm not quite sure. One of them came out, but I'm not quite sure which one it was. Whether it was New Zealand or the Argentina one. But either way, none of us ended up buying it.
I thought it was the Argentina one that's come out, but I might be wrong.
Argentina, I think, came out. And then we've got Age of Atlantis, which I believe you've just got, Andy, or you've just sorted out what's happened to your copy.
How long have we got? Have we got any stress grapes?
Oh my God, that's an inside joke that not even the listeners are going to get.
Right. Well, this is.
Well, one listener will
I'll
get
tell you
it.
what. Give us the elevator description.
I'll give you the cliff notes.
Yeah.
Long story short, this has been a shit show from start to finish. Now, it is not unheard of that Kickstarters can go awry, but this one was started well and then went off a cliff around about August last year, when fulfillment started, or so we were told. And that's as far as it got. So there's still a lot of people who haven't received their stuff. A lot of people, myself included, have been chasing Eldorado saying, where's my stuff? You know, you've sent us messages saying fulfillment's ongoing. Is it? We've received nothing. So I checked and sent them an email, and after several chasings, I got told, that should have happened early last year. Or, you know, early in fulfillment last year. Yes, well, clearly it did not. Can you please sort it out? Oh, yeah, sort it out. Go to talk to Fun Again, who are shipping it and fulfilling it. And Fun Again, to be fair, were very, very good. They were told to send whatever it was to me. I have literally received it this evening as we record. And I am missing the giant metal Poseidon that I paid for. Pure pimp, but they're nice. Not turned up. They've sent me the wrong version of the game that I ordered. One of the miniatures inside was broken. So altogether, bit of a shit show from Eldorado there. And the thing is, I thought it might be because I changed my email address last year. So I approached them and said, look, I've changed my email address, so that might be the cause of the problem. Can you sort it out, please? Turns out, no. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of people in the same situation, so it's definitely not that. So basically, Eldorado games are dreadful, frankly. Absolutely appalling, and there's a lot of very angry people about this. And it's not just that, it's because the communication from Eldorado has been pretty much non-existent as well, so just nobody knows where they stand. The responses are really poor, so not a good experience, sadly.
Dear, it's not good. Well, there's some things we have actually played here. We got Stormweavers, or at least I did. I played it. I was a little bit disappointed by it. You can go check one of our previous episodes for that. And let's end on a high note with So You've Been Eaten, which was one of Rory's best games of the year, so must have been good. And
it's not bad. It's good fun.
It's good fun. I think that's the one highlight we will leave on and move quickly on. As Andy said, 50% hit rate on what we've got. But
exactly. Draw a veil over it and never speak of it again.
Let's hope this year's will be a much more useful and interesting list.
It's an interesting list.
Yes.
How it pans out, however.
Rory has actually set some games on this list for us to review, so I think we should go through Rory's games first. So these are basically the games we're looking forward to that we think are coming out in the next 12 months. Mm-hmm. I say think because game development now has become a much longer term thing. It used to be you could easily predict what was coming out in the next 12 months, but now as Kickstarter and delays makes it much more difficult every time.
All bets are off.
So we're going to do the usual run through of what we do on is 3 games each. Rory's actually pre-selected a few for us to talk about. So the first game Rory's interested in is The Age of Comics, which he played earlier in the year. He got a Kickstarter review copy of this.
He rather liked it, if I remember rightly.
I think he absolutely loved it, I think is the phrase. I could not stop singing its praises enough. And I've not played it, but I have seen like the pictures of it. And this is a game where you get little tiny comics as tokens, and they're all like different covers. And it does look actually pretty damn cool. So there is a review of that on Polyhedron Collider as well. So it's a worker placement game where I think is it the Silver Age of Comics rather than the Golden Age of Comics?
I have no idea.
Rory's not going to be happy that I've said that I've got that wrong. But yeah, it's...
He says, I hope that in a few years I can review the different original sequel, Age of Comics or Silver Years. So it's not
this
those.
Is the golden year. This represents the golden years of comics. There we go.
Yeah, it does, yeah. The golden years and the first in the series.
So it's all about setting up a comic printer and like getting talent and publishing comics. Rory has also said he fancies is looking forward to La Granja. Yeah, that one. Yeah, which is from Board and Dice. This is Deluxe Master Set. Now, this is actually a game which got made about 8 years ago, I think.
At least.
Came out by Stronghold Games, and it's been remade by Board and Dice.
Oh.
I've got to admit, I've not played this. I know it made a massive splash when it first came out.
Yeah.
But it's a game about owning it's like a Spanish vineyard, and you're growing grapes or olives or grain, and basically to turn them into stuff. So it's your Euro game: grow things, make things, sell things.
Sounds brilliant. Where do I buy it?
Probably from Board Dice.
That's a good answer, given that they're the publishers. Now, the thing is, because it's not Stronghold Games and it's Board and Dice, does that mean it's going to be sensibly priced at a high quality? Ooh, my handbag's loaded.
God, is anybody not going to get it in the
No,
neck
I'm
today
feeling
from you?
sassy tonight.
Obviously. And the last game Rory has picked is actually one I looked at briefly, and I was going to raise it to you, Andy and Rory, which is Bloodstones, which is a new game from Martin Wallace, which is coming out from his new publishing house. So it's a Martin Wallace game about European, I don't know if it's Roman or medieval conquest, in which you have these little stone-shaped little tiles that represent all the invading armies moving around. It does look rather pretty, I must admit. Don't know much about the gameplay, but I mean, it's Martin Wallace. I think you and Rory will both be giving it a try.
Definitely, yeah.
Just say, rather than Martin Wallace is known for the multi-use cards. This is multi-use tiles.
Oh,
So a bit of a remix.
so same thing, just a bit stiffer.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yes. Let's leave it at that. That's just yes. Okay, then. Who wants to kick us off with what game they are looking forward to in 2023? Then.
I don't know, really.
I think Grumpy Pants should go first. Let's see if we can cheer him up.
Me?
Well, look, Steve's not grumpy, is he?
Oh, I
He's
don't
sat there
know.
quietly enjoying himself, full of joy and happiness.
I must admit, Andy is sassy. I am feeling grumpy, to be fair.
See? There you go. That's just fallen at the first hurdle, hasn't it, you smarmy git?
Oh, Mr. Sassy Pants, then. He can go first.
I was about to say, should we actually, after the chaos of last episode, should we not do it in the order in which we announce ourselves, so there's no mix? But then you went and screwed up the order in which you announced, so there we go.
I'm glad to be of service. Fine, I'll go first. Well, one that I think is probably fairly reliable, he says, setting himself up for a massive fall in 12 months' time, is Bretwalda by Phalanx Games. Now, I played this, or a demo of it, at Expo in 2022, and I was rather taken by it, so much so that I may have gone all in on the Kickstarter. But it's an area control game with a twist. It's set in kind of all the kingdom, the really early sort of Britain kingdom times, like the 900s to the 1300s AD, kind of, when what's her name, Boudicca and all that lot were knocking about, that kind of era of Britain. And the idea is you play a king or kingdom, and the idea is basically you've got to take over a certain amount of the map depending on the player count, and you do this with different types of unit. You get 3. You get one really powerful one, a bunch of minions, and someone in between. And you can play little sort of abilities. You can move them around. You can spawn them. Nothing that you won't have seen before in terms of kind of area control type games. You can create units, move them, attack, that sort of shit. But the twist on it is extremely clever. So you can build little buildings that will give you abilities, and you can also ally with people. And allies are not necessarily binding. So you can sort of pay someone to either not invade you or invade someone else, and they can go, yeah, sure, take your money and absolutely screw you over. So it has a wonderful, wonderful twist. The aesthetic of the game is wonderful, really, really pretty, really in keeping with the period, because Phalanx are always very, very keen on being historically accurate, almost to a fault. And I really, really enjoyed it. Really great game, and it looks fantastic. So I'm really quite keen on receiving that as and when.
Cool. I mean, it does look pretty. I'm annoyed I didn't have enough time to have a proper look at this at Expo with the limited time I had. But yeah, it does look very interesting, this game.
I think you will enjoy it.
The way you're talking about it, I think you might be right. So one of the games in which I'm looking forward to, and I must admit, I'm hoping this comes out this year, but I'm already punting this may actually be a 2024 release, but I'm rather looking forward to Warcrow Adventures. Now, one of the reasons I'm looking forward to this is I've actually played this.
Ooh.
Only played the first mission.
You're speaking from a position of fact? Good grief!
Position of experience.
My God, you're saying that this podcast isn't just bullshit and conjecture for once.
Well, it will be later on in the podcast, definitely.
True, yes.
So, Warcrow Adventures is a miniatures-based dungeon crawling game from Corvus Belli, who are the makers of the Infinity miniatures games. It's kind of like an opener, this, for a new skirmish game, which I believe is going to get revealed this year at Gen Con. And it is, on the very surface of it, I hesitate to say generic dungeon crawler. You'll be taking one of a staple set of heroes, wizards, elf archers, dwarf fighters, that kind of thing, and going off an adventure. But the best way to describe it is a more tactical version of Mansions of Madness.
Oh, okay.
So it's app-based and follows that Mansions of Madness thing of placing clues on the board, going up to a clue, flicking on it, and that will reveal the story. So it's not just a simple case of wandering through a dungeon and smacking everything. There is a story that develops, and there are choices that you can make. Now, I played through the introductory scenario a couple of times, and there are different paths that do have subtle differences. So it's not just a simple case of walk through and get the clues. You can explore the clues in a couple of different ways, which have some subtle changes. Not massive, but enough that there is a bit of worth going back into it. However, where it's interesting is the combat, which is the tactical side of it, which they've really thought about. One of the first things is it's almost like an RPG. You get action points to spend, and these you represent these by little gem cubes which go onto your character sheet, and you put them on one of the rows. And some actions take 3 points to do, and some actions take 1 point to do. So there's sometimes you can do like an all-out attack, or you can do like a minor attack. But even on like the minor attacks, if you want, you can spend extra action points to boost it. But they're not just boosts like, oh, this is going to do more damage, although there are ones that do that. There are some which are like, will stun an enemy, and some which will move an enemy, and things like that. So a very careful thing about where you place these things to get like the best thing you can get out of a turn. And even with the starting things, you've actually got a plethora of special abilities. Like the dwarf has the ability to taunt people and to make them act less efficient in combat. One of the wizards drains their energy and stuns them. So there's the definite thing of trying to combo these actions together and work out the best way to get things to work. What is really cool though is the initiative. So turn order isn't just a case of going around the table, human player goes, dwarf player goes, monsters attack. Instead, you've got this clock with tokens on it representing each miniature on the board. So one for the baddies, one for each of the heroes. And they start off on your initiative score. So let's say that the dwarf's got initiative 5 and the elf's got initiative 3 and the baddie's got initiative 6. So you put them tokens on those spaces. So they'll go, and you quite literally turn the wheel of the clock. You've got a little finger that goes around under the clock and activate each one. And when it comes to your finish of your turn, you move forward the number of spaces on the clock equal to your initiative.
Ah, I vaguely remember you saying this, mentioning this now. Yes.
Yeah.
Ah.
And what's really cool is some of those actions I mentioned earlier can affect your initiative. So a really powerful double-handed attack with the dwarf
Takes ages.
So it adds to the initiative, which means she doesn't act until later in the round.
Yes.
Whereas, so sometimes you're thinking, well, do I go for this action because that'll give me initiative 3, which means I'll actually manage to go twice before the bad guys activate.
Yeah.
And you can see exactly where everyone activates on this initiative tracker. So you really think it's really clever. Cool. And I mean, when you only played it very simple, I said the first mission is just a handful of bad guys, 2-2, then a big baddie. But you can see that once you start getting into bigger combats with bigger special abilities, there's going to be a lot of tactical options about how you position everything on the board and how you make sure you do the right thing in the right order.
Sounds good. I already like it. It reminds me a little of Glass Road, actually, by Uwe Rosenberg. just to be completely at the other end of the spectrum. The only reason I say that is because there's quite a similar sort of clock mechanic in Glass Road where you're making things. So you can have like raw resources and you can turn, say, sand into glass, for example. And you put your resources on this clock and it looks like a sort of like 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock clock, which is sort of open and the rest of it's closed. And you basically literally rotate this clock and it pushes all your little sort of resources round into the next section. So it takes a certain amount of time for glass to be made or for bricks to be made out of clay, for example. So you've got to kind of really plan ahead when you want your resources, so when you want to spend them. So sort of similar sort of ideas. It's not quite as complicated as Warcrow by the sounds of things, but it's a similar sort of idea. You can see when stuff is going to be ready so that then you can spend it, or in my case, misplan it completely and lose the game horribly.
The other thing that's quite cool about this is rather than the way it works is it's very similar to kind of Descent in the way it uses dice. So you've got coloured dice for your attack and you roll them and it's different symbols. So there's a little bit of reading the tea leaves of trying to work out what you can do with those symbols. Not quite as complicated as the Descent in that, but what it does is a really interesting thing I thought of, and it's similar to Oathsworn actually. When you boost an attack, you don't add a bonus to it. You just take the next. You both go up to the next more powerful die. So you basically go for the dice, and and then if you have two bonuses, you have to decide how you're going to spend it. We're going to spend them both on one die to get like a level 3 die, or are you going to do like 2 lower level ones? So quite interesting there as well. And of course, I'm flicking through the Kickstarter now. All sorts of shenanigans afoot, expansions, baddies, campaigns, all sorts going on there.
I'm assuming this campaign has already finished.
The campaign is already finished, but the pledge manager will be open for late pledges, I believe, by the time this goes live, or if not, very soon after.
Oh, I'm just curious, asking for a friend, etc.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Just curious.
Yes.
I'm saying this partly to just wind Andy up. I must admit the miniatures I've been sent with the game were prototypes, so I don't know whether they're 3D printed or whether they're part of the manufacturing process. But Jesus Christ, the level on detail on them is amazing.
Shut up now.
The elf's cloak has got leaves on the back of it.
God damn!
And they're actually curled up leaves. Each individual one. I'm looking at them thinking, That leaf is about the size of my normal painting brush. There is no way I'd be able to paint that kind of detail on them. But God damn it, I'm going to try.
Hell yes. I mean, Geraldaz will probably hit it with an airbrush, pixel perfect, but, whatever.
Yeah. So, yes, that, I believe, should be coming later this year. But if not, it might even be the early next year, but we'll see. So that's Warcrow Adventures by Corvus Belli. Mr. Gill, we've given you some time to think, to ponder, to contemplate.
So, gentlemen, I will start my game I'm looking forward to in 2023 with a question.
Ooh.
You should never do that.
Why not?
I'm reliably informed by that it's poor etiquette, but I don't know where I learned that, so carry on.
Since when did you learn manners?
I've learned them. Doesn't mean I employ them.
Right. Anyway, stay on target. So my question, gentlemen, is what constitutes a board game?
I reckon it contains a game and a board.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are some games out there which blend several points. I would say a board with distinct spaces on it. So spots that you have to move things. Like, for instance, like a miniatures game has to have squares or hexes.
That's true.
If it needs a ruler, then it's a miniatures game.
I think my plow might be going off the rails for a moment. That's not the answer I was expecting.
Have you not considered the possibility of this question, Sid?
Oh, I have. I just expected you to derail me in a very different way. Right. The reason for my question is if I was to say to you that I am really looking forward to a game coming out next year, which is going to come in a box.
Yep.
It's going to have a map, which will act as a board.
Yep.
It will have standees.
Yep.
It will have dice.
Okay.
It will have a deck of cards.
Right.
And it will have an adventure.
Oh, hang on. I might have just come up with a clause here. Does it need a GM to run it?
Well, a certain player may have to take a different role to everybody else, but we just call it asymmetric,
But
don't we?
that's still a board game because, like, the original Descent, the original Mansions of Madness, Hero Quest, even. Yeah.
Exactly. So, one thing I am rather looking forward to coming out this year is Dragonbane from Free League. And it contains all of those things.
But it's definitely an RPG.
Yeah. they said in unison.
Hey, look, it was a good try, right?
It doesn't have to be a board game. These are just products we're looking forward to.
I know. I just thought it's humorous along there. But in seriousness, right, I'm really looking forward to this game, this RPG. It's by Free League, and it's, for those in the know, it's based on an old game. It was originally Magic World by Chaosium, which was translated into Swedish years ago, back in the 80s, I think, early 80s. And it's massive. It is absolutely huge in Sweden. Fantasy-based RPG. And now it's been reimagined and re-released into the world by Free League. It's not coming out in the Year Zero engine. It's coming out in a D20 based system.
I wonder if it's going to be the same as Symbaroum then, wonder.
No, it's I've looked
no,
at it.
It's different.
It's like D&D adjacent, I would call it.
Yeah, it's roll under rather than roll
Right,
over.
okay.
You've still got stats and all that kind of stuff, so you know you're quite right. It is an RPG through and through. But the difference, I think, and what I really like about Dragonbane is it's a little bit more subtle than that. In that you can bring it to the table with all those things I just said. So you've got decks of cards, you've got standees for your characters, you've got an adventure book, which can be, that you can play it in a night as a one shot. You can all sit around and play it in an evening, or you can play it over months and years as a massive campaign that's all hooked together. And it's its kind of purpose. Its purpose is to be a very quickly deployed, relatively rules light kind of game. And you can make it what you want. You can turn it into a grim, dark, really kind of classic fantasy kind of game, or you can play it as a comedic kind of jovial, fun thing as well. And it's because it's got so much choice. You've got this is the game with the ducks.
Oh, it's got ducks, right?
You can play the duck race. You can play the ducks. It's an entire race of ducks. Alongside your classic kind of elvish and magic and all that kind of stuff as well. But as I say, it's coming out this year. It's kickstarted already. Expected, I think, late 2023, maybe August, September sort of time. And what's got me really interested in it is it's kind of D&D like in that fantasy setting with the D20 and all those little things that are familiar, but it's suitably different that I think it's going to be exciting to play in the fantasy world again. And I'm just really looking forward to it. And the artwork in it is stunning.
Excellent.
So I've also backed this.
Oh.
I don't know. I didn't know if you did, Andy.
No.
Oh, okay.
I was not aware of it.
I'm surprised at that.
I feel I have erred.
I think you might just have done, because I think this is very much in your wheelhouse.
Yes, it does sound very much my kind of cheese. Damn.
I want to play this in real life. I want us to get around a table and try it as a board game-esque of an afternoon, of an evening playthrough. Because I think it'll be really interesting to try it like that. And it, the other thing I will say is I reckon that this year, 2023, is going to be the year of the RPG. I've said it.
It's going to be the year of the physical RPG, since we've been playing online, like, accelerated due to COVID, but we were playing online before. So is this the year of the Sid's going to get some people around and actually play RPGs at a table?
Well, not quite. I was thinking more wider than that. I think because of the D&D movie coming out this year, I reckon that, and the fact that Hasbro is now in command and we won't go into the.
We might leave that for a
situation
few weeks'
now.
time for the next proper
Leave that alone.
podcast. Yeah.
But I reckon that this is going to kick RPGing mainstream big time this year. And I think things like Dragonbane, for those of us who don't want to play D&D anymore, is exactly what we should all be looking for. Because I think it's going to be everything we're looking for in a D&D game, but different and better.
You say that as I am literally 1 day away from starting the Curse of Strahd in Dungeons and Dragons.
Did I? Oh, I must have forgotten, mate.
Are a wind-up merchant of the highest order.
Anyway, that's all I've got to say on it. I've backed it. The pre-order's no doubt going to be out soon, and I think it will be an awesome game to look forward to this year.
Very much looking forward to it myself.
Yes.
So, Andy.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah.
It's back to me.
It's back to you.
Well, I don't know. I've got this bloody great list, and I'm looking at them all thinking, oh my God, where do I start? Well, I have Frosthaven on this list, but I'm not going to choose that one to talk about because I have got Gloomhaven, the board game, and its expansion, and Jaws of the Lion, and I am yet to sit down and play a proper game of the board game. And that's, 4 years in? I don't know. But the thing is, I have the digital version of Gloomhaven now on Steam. It's really good, and it's a fantastic translation of it. So it's kind of rendered the board game moot.
And less tidy up.
And set up, and all the heavy lifting is done by the app, and it's really, really good. So if you haven't already got...
with Gloomhaven, it's quite literally heavy lifting.
It really is. You're not wrong, mate. You need a bloody pallet truck to shift it round. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, if you haven't got the digital edition of Gloomhaven, I really strongly recommend you get it. It is fantastic. But in terms of games what are on this list, I am going to have to say, and I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball here, is Impression, which none of you two have heard of.
No.
Now, I have mentioned it in the past, and I was met with the same dumbfounded silence as I was just then. Now, Impression is made by a small company called A Games, and they are, I think, Hungarian outfit. But they do all of their production in Europe. So most of the time, their productions are pretty quick. It's like, as in their entire campaigns are usually like 6 months long, because not everything goes over to China. It doesn't take 6 weeks to get here. They do everything local. The games are slightly more expensive, but considering you get them in a number of weeks rather than a number of years, I think personally it's worth it. Now, Steve, you have played Ava Roma. Remember that?
I'm still having nightmares about that, yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing is, when we played that, we were still, young and naive.
Yeah.
We've played Lacerda games since then, so it makes Ava Roma look pretty straightforward, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, that gave us some serious brain burn. But it's the same company, and I think it's the same designer, if I remember rightly. So it's Attila Skreci or something like that. And he did, a second one was Prehistory, which is really, really, really super heavy, and it's really clever, but I don't really play it very often. Laura's scared of it. And... I've tried to explain it to her twice, and both times she sort of looks at me. And I mean, she has played things like The Gallerist and On Mars, which admittedly she struggled with as well, but it is quite heavy. But yeah, Impression is all about the printing press. So remember Frankenfurter, or whatever it was called, the one we played at Expo? Gutenberg, that's the one. Steve Gutenberg, Short Circuit, Mahoney. None of us were particularly impressed with Gutenberg, and we thought it was a bit dull. Well, my expectation and/or hope is that Impression will be what Gutenberg should have been. Interesting and colourful and actually worth playing. So, Impression is about printing presses and making books and various other things like that. So that is my hope. It's got lots of coloured cubes and various, it's a proper heavy Euro. So it's right up my street as per. But it is my vain hope that it scratches the itch that that was left unscratched by Gutenberg. Let's put it that way. But it has suffered quite a few delays, which is why I'm expecting it this year.
I was going to say, you've mentioned this game before.
I have.
Yeah.
But it's basically suffered, under the hands of, the COVID shipping crisis, basically. So they've really struggled trying to get this out. So,
in fact, Andy, I'm going to call you out.
Are you?
Yeah. Impression was on your preview list for 2021.
You see, that's how long it's taken them to get it to us. So it's still not out. It's still not been shipped yet, sadly. And I'm really, really keenly looking forward to it. So I have a bit of a soft spot for A games because they do very good games for sort of reasonably good prices, really high quality. So I do follow them. I do recommend people do follow them as well. But I am still looking forward to Impression. I know it should have come out 2 years ago, but God damn it, I don't care. I'm still looking forward to it. And considering there are a number of games on this list that I've basically bailed all hope on, the fact that Impression is still in there is, I think, is worthy of praise.
I think that's fair.
There you go.
Right, I need to pick a game, don't I?
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's do a bit of like on air, like cutting these down. So
I was going to copy a bunch of stuff on your list because I'm looking forward to a lot of them as well. I thought there's no point in duplicating that. That's just silly. So I am looking forward to the gig from Braincrack Games. Lol.
But yes, Braincrack Games made an announcement to say things are not too good at Braincrack HQ. And so Florence, which is the game you just had, have you, Andy?
It is. It turned up a couple of weeks ago.
There was issues with the delivery of that, so I think you're actually quite lucky to have had that.
Yes.
But apparently there are further issues, and the gig is, I'm not going to say indefinitely delayed, but delayed to an unknown date. So I think it's unlikely we're going to get that this year. So the gig is this dice rolling jazz game, which is absolutely bonkers, but it looks absolutely amazing. I've also got on this list The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, which I'm really looking forward to, but it is definitely not going to be coming out this year because it's not even going to be coming to GameFound until March 2023. So I reckon this might be on the preview list for 2025. But this is basically Too Many Bones in the Elder Scrolls / Skyrim world.
Ooh. Now, I've never played any of them, so I don't care, but
Is this coming out from Modiphius then?
No, this is Chip Theory Games.
oh.
No.
Now, here's the interesting thing, and the difference you notice. Modiphius, I think, this is what I think. I think Modiphius have the license to Skyrim.
They certainly do, yeah.
Chip Theory Games have the license to the Elder Scrolls. They're using a different name and they're using a different artwork and logo.
Isn't Skyrim in the Elder Scrolls universe?
Okay.
Yes, but obviously it must be a different license for the purposes of handing it out.
That's weird, because Skyrim's just Elder Scrolls 5? Because Morrowind was 3, Oblivion was 4, yeah, Skyrim's Elder Scrolls 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what they've done is they have split it out. Somebody in licensing has split this out because it's the same logo that the Elder Scrolls Online game has, which is the Elder Scrolls MMO.
I guess it might just be the rule set they've got the license to rather than, say, the IP of Skyrim, I guess.
I don't know. I think Skyrim, like Modiphius, have obviously got access to the license for all the factions because they do the miniature skirmish games. They've got all the miniatures for all the different things, and they've got the board game that came out, which people are just getting delivered now. So yeah, there's not much detail on it at the moment. There's a picture of the box and there's a picture of some sewn neoprene mats.
As is Chip Theory's want, yes.
Chip Theory, so there we go. But I wasn't going to pick that because it's not coming out yet.
Speaking of Chip Theory, we're gonna like pair our lists, mutual lists down, I think here.
Right,
speaking
go
of Chip Theory, I'm currently expecting Burn Cycle, which I realise is already out, but I sort of backed it late last year because they've announced a couple of expansions, and I decided I'm going to jump on that bandwagon hard, so I did. And I had a quick peek through it at the pool party earlier this year, and it does look very, very nice. So I'm quite looking forward to that if and when it turns up this year. Hopefully this year. Might be next year, we'll see. But that's also by Chip Theory, and it does look very nice. I didn't get to play it, though.
Well, I'm going to screw you up here, and I'm going to pick something that isn't on your list, which is Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies.
Ah, you did like Sleeping Gods.
Ooh,
So
you've been talking a lot about
I've been
Sleeping
talking a lot about
Gods.
Sleeping Gods. Yeah, so Sleeping Gods, with the original game, is you are trapped, sent into another world on a boat, and you have to find your way home. In this, you're in an airplane, so completely different game.
So it's the same but different.
It's the same but different, yes, and which is exactly what I'm hoping for, really. What I've seen of it is very similar kind of system. So it's an open world with this like choose your own adventure style story with lots and lots and lots of different options. It's quite evocative. The little pictures, the cover has got an airplane being chased by a pterodactyl, which I think is just cool in itself. So I think, I don't know what year it's set in, 1930s this is set in. I think the previous one was set in 1920s, but I could be wrong. But it's building on, so it's basically Sleeping Gods 2.
Right.
And Sleeping Gods was a magnificent piece of work with all kinds of, you were searching for these lost items. I'm not going to give away why you're searching for them, but very different, a massive game with loads of replayability, even though it's a written game. So, this is even more of that. And it looks quite frankly amazing. And I didn't back the Game Found when it first came out, but because it's Game Found, it's really easy to late pledge. So I went all in on it.
Oh, very nice. You did an Andy. Well done, sir.
I did an Andy, yes.
You've learned well. My lessons are slowly creeping out. Excellent. Well done. I will quickly mention Dawn of Madness. Obviously, it was mentioned on our list from last year. It's still not out, so I'm still looking forward to that. But what I'm looking forward to more is Sid's second recommendation.
My second one is something that Alora put me on to.
You don't listen to her
earlier
She's
this
trouble.
year. Oh no, she's good. She's clever. That one of yours. And that was, we were up in Scotland, I think, and she mentioned it to me then, and it was Coraquest, which made a big splash, kind of post mid lockdown kind of time as a very friendly dungeon crawler for adults and children to play. And more recently, I invested in a copy of that, and I bloody loved it.
Ooh.
The boy loves it. The wife loves it.
Ooh.
It's very popular in this household. And so my second recommendation for this year is Coraquest Keep on Questing, which is the expansion which has just finished Kickstarter a few months ago, I think, or a month ago. Bright Eye Games publishing it. So it's the same people, Dan Hughes, obviously Cora, his daughter. I think Mark Cook is involved as well, somewhere in there. And what it is it's just building on the original Coraquest. So taking that dungeon crawler, putting in like a campaign mode, putting in character progression or level up of your characters as you go, more treasure, more loot, more baddies, more fantastic artwork, and it's just a really nice, fun game. And I think I'm realizing that these types of games are my transition from RPGs into board gaming on the table.
Nice.
So it's it's an RPG basically, but it's not quite, and it's a board game. But it's just a really, really nice, fun game.
I'm intrigued by this because I'm intrigued by the link to HeroQuest, just to see, does it make that old HeroQuest good for the modern gamer?
Well, it's a tile laying.
Yeah.
You're making your map as you go, kind of dungeon crawler. You flip a card over, there'll be a couple of markings on it. You put your baddies down if it asks for it, or you play some story kind of text. So it's got all the elements of the big boy kind of dungeon crawler games, but with this kind of element of fun that I think is easily lost in some of the bigger games where they become more kind of what's the word? Aggressive, or you're pitting yourself almost against the game. Whereas here, like, if you mess up and miss, you can make your character become more determined, and all of a sudden you get an extra die just because your character's got a bit angrier. Next time he's less likely to mess up. So when you're playing with a kid who doesn't really understand that sometimes your dice go badly and you've got to improvise and work out a different way of doing things, this game just helps you carry the whole game through. But if you're playing with adults, you just bin that and you make it the hard game you want it to be, and you're just playing with some really nice, colourful cards in front of you. I just think it's a really, really clever game. And, as I say, it got a lot of stuff talked about last year, and I just think it deserves every ounce of praise it's given. And this add-on, I think is going to make it even more interesting and more exciting as a game. And link the little stories together, so it's going to become more campaigns. So it's going to have two campaigns in it, 5 adventures in each, and it's not a lot of beans. I think it's about 30 odd quid or something like that. So it's good value for money, and I just think it's going to be a really, really fun game. And I was one I think I really want to talk to Rory about as well, because I think he may enjoy that. With his family as well. But next time we get together, I'd love to play it with you guys and see what you think about it, just as adults. But I think it does need a couple of kids at the table, because I think that makes it more interesting, because seeing them get really excited about it is quite interesting, because the wee man absolutely loves it, to the point where he's he comes home after school, goes, Daddy, can we play another quest?
Excellent.
And it's really good. So yeah, so there's my second one for 2023, guys. Coraquest, keep on questing. I think the Kickstarter has now finished, but I think late pledges are possible. It's not a lot of money. You can buy the original game at the same time if you don't already have it. Really recommend
it. It's interesting that quite a lot of games kind of half targeted at kids like that are a lot more fun than they probably should be, because we've played Rhino Hero Super Battle and we had a lot of fun playing that as well. From what the hell are they called? Not Mana Games. Habba Games, yeah.
Habba.
But also Echidna Shuffle. That's a fantastic game. It's brilliant for kids because they just move the echidnas around, because it's a very bright and colourful game, and it doesn't really matter if they screw up or not. And if you're an adult, you can be a complete bastard to your friends. It's absolutely brilliant. What a great game!
And I think that's a really clever part of some of these games. And if it introduces more people into the hobby and gets them going, then frankly I'm all for it. So it's bringing me into it. I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it, to the point where I'm playing it and enjoying it just as much as the wee man is, and the fact that wife's playing it as well is a bonus. So
wow, there you go. Now that is good news.
I am going to talk about Voidfall.
Yeah, from Big DVT.
Yeah, Big TVT's Voidfall. So yes, David Turtsey. This is a 4X game. Now we've met David on a few occasions, and so David is more than happy to talk about his games to you, and he's more than happy to share his opinion on games and styles and things like that. And I'm pretty sure he said to me about 4 or 5 years ago, 4X games are rubbish, but I've fixed them.
I remember that. I was there. Yes, you did. I fixed 4X. Really, David? I mean, the Eclipse and Twilight Imperium are both considered pretty good games. No, I've fixed them. Okay.
This is his apparent fixing it, which makes me think. I'm really excited for this for that very reason. So yes, it is a 4X game, Euro-based, so closer to Eclipse than Twilight Imperium. But even more, I'm going to say, if you've got a Venn diagram of Euro and Ameritrash style games, then it's going to be much more in the Euro side, because it's got deterministic combat. There's tokens afoot. None of this negotiation nonsense that you get in Twilight Imperium. And because it's also by Mind Clash Games, so of course the production values are through the roof. It's bright, it's colourful. Ian O'Toole's done the artwork, and the graphic design, so it looks very, very pretty.
Winning combo, really, isn't it? David Turksey, Mind Clash, and Ian O'Toole. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to put your back out trying to get it on and off the shelf, because it's going to be an absolutely massive box full of stuff. I just double checked. I'm on the Kickstarter. I did go for the ridiculous pledge, didn't I? I didn't go for the standard one. So yeah, I'm getting all that bling.
Good man, well done.
And I can't say much more about it, because it just looks so goddamn intriguing. And
yeah,
actually, it'd be interesting to compare this. Can you have Twilight Imperium, this and Eclipse in your collection at the same time? And I think the answer is going to be a resounding yes.
Yes, I was going to say, well, I'm going to have all three, so yes. And I did a similar thing to you in that I...
Well, actually, I don't know if we mentioned this in the podcast. I think we have, but I was wondering whether to back this, and I saw Andy had backed it. So I thought, no, I'm not going to pledge because Andy's got it, and this is one of those games which I'm probably only going to play with Andy. So there's no point in us both owning the copy. So Andy then cancelled his pledge, and so I thought, well, I want to play this game, so I'm going to back it. And I thought, well, I've got a copy, we'll play my copy. Only to find that Andy backed it. Did you back it late pledge, or did you back it in the last 5 minutes?
I late pledged it. It says here I have the Galactic Box English Edition late pledge.
There we go.
There you go. So yes, it's got the ridiculous metal bits. Actually, incidentally, apparently, according to this, I also added on the Anachrony metal cube set as well.
No.
Because they weren't available at the time when Anachrony shipped, so I thought, there's a bit of Anachrony I don't have. Right, that's getting added on.
Oh, that unfortunate at the moment is like massive shelf of shame because I've got Anachrony. I've played the main game a couple of times. The expansion in Big's Box came, and I've not played anything that came in that expansion.
I am equally guilty, Mr. Tudor. I keep looking at it on my shelf and going, I really want to play that because it's a very good game. But yes,
after all that sorting and putting it back in the box, which took the best part of a day, and I still haven't played all the expansion stuff.
Likewise, I've looked at it and gone, this will be great one day. One day in the mythical future.
Have you played Anachrony yet, Sid?
No, I haven't played it yet. It's one of those big ones I keep seeing at your guys' houses that we never seem to quite have the right time.
Next time you're both over, we'll get it out. And that means, Steve, you don't need to put your back out bringing it over because I've already got it here. Right. A third game on my list. I would like to mention Hegemony, but I know very little about it. I just kind of backed it because it looked good and I was recommended that I probably like it. So I am looking forward to it, and it does look quite hefty. But I can't really talk about it in any great detail because I know next to nothing about it. So I am going to talk about Holywood 1947 by Facade Games. Now, Facade Games are little known. Well, they're probably reasonably quite well known. Do you remember, gentlemen, Tortuga, Deadwood,
Yes,
Bristol?
Yes.
So yes, these are the little games by Facade Games that look like books when they're on the bookshelf. So they're they're generally hidden traitor or social deduction style of games. The first one by Facade Games was Tortuga, where you're basically playing pirates of either British or French, or indeed with an odd number of players, which is the best way to play. Somebody plays as a Dutch person who can sort of pick and choose whichever side they want to side with as it suits their goal. And then they released Salem 13, whatever the hell it was. It basically is all about the Salem witch trials. I think that plays up to about 12, so it's a bit mad. Then there was Deadwood, which is sort of robbing the bank as a bunch of cowboys. And then the fourth game was Bristol 1347, something like that, 42, where you're trying to escape Bristol, which was being overrun by the plague. So there's basically carts sprinting down. You guys haven't played this yet, it's ace. It's basically a cart run through the streets of Bristol. There's 3 carts, and you're jumping from cart to cart to try to avoid getting the plague and catching it from everybody else who's on the cart. So if everybody in the cart has got somebody on the cart has got the plague, you all get it, and you can't win the game. So the idea is you're basically booting people off the cart, so they have to run onto a different cart, and you've got to try and get out of the city before they shut the gates. It's only about a half-hour game, but it is quite mad and fun, and there's a lot of backstabbing, betrayal, and secret information. So that's their 4 games so far, but Holywood 1947, so generally there's a place and a year that these games are set in, and Holywood 1947 is their 5th game. The Kickstarter's not out yet. It is expected first quarter this year, as far as I am aware. So I'll definitely be backing that, just because I've got the other 4, so I might as well have the 5th. But we've generally quite enjoyed these games. They're generally, they're within an hour to play. They're not heavy. The rules are like 3 or 4 pages long. They're usually social deduction or hidden traitor style of games, and they're usually pretty good fun. So if you like that kind of game, definitely keep an eye out for that. So that's Holywood 1947. I don't know much about the gameplay.
I am reading up on it as you are describing it.
Here we go. So I keep talking and spinning this out so we can get some information.
So you are part of the movie making industry, of course, in Holywood 1947, but you're trying to find the hidden commies who are sending out unpatriotic messages within their movies.
Ah, there you go.
So there'll be a secret patriot, a secret communist, and a rising star, and you'll be like screenwriters, gaffers, directors, editors, and that'll decide what kind of movie is being made. And the idea is that the unknown players are trying to put their secret messages into the movie that's being produced.
Sounds good.
So that's pretty good. It looks pretty cool, actually. As you said, it looks like a book. So the whole box is like a book to fit on the bookshelf. But it's got posters, just like Age of Comics had all those little comic tiles. This has got posters for all the films you're going to do.
Fantastic.
And there's little. I need to know how this works, because there's also like this semi-transparent film, which I think is your hidden roles. This looks intriguing. I'm fascinated by this. I'd say the only issue I have with these games is they do require a lot of players, don't they?
Yes. Tortuga will play any number more than, I think it's 3, but and it'll play up to 9, and it's definitely best with more. So, 7, 8, or 9, and it's also even better with an odd number of players, so you get the Dutch Persian in.
Yeah.
And the same is true for things like Salem. You'll want 9 or 10, or 12 players. Deadwood's definitely better with more players, so yeah, and as is Bristol. You can play it with 3 or 4, but it's definitely best at the higher player count. So,
I think this is quite hot off the press. It looks like the Board Game Geek page has been updated today with all this information.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, the information has not. They only released the fact that what the name of the game is called a couple of weeks ago. They released a teaser in one of their older Kickstarter campaigns, just for former backers. But they didn't actually give much information at the time. So now that's come out as to what it is. So here we go.
Cool. No, it does look really interesting. Right then, Mr. Gill, can you pick us a third game?
No.
No, okay then. Fair enough. At least you're honest.
No, I was going to seek some advice from the collective, and I was gonna pose a question to you two gentlemen, and kind of. You know what I kind of like to play. What is the kind of game that I should keep a watch out for this year?
That's a good
And it may be a game you guys aren't really too keen on. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it is something you are very keen on. But what is the one that somebody like me should be looking for? So,
you could have given us a bit of a prep time, Gil.
Yeah. Now we've got to think on the hoof.
Well, now you've got to think your feet. So now I'll get an honest answer rather than a planned and prepared answer.
Tainted Rail, Kings of Leon. Ruin.
Tainted Rail.
Tainted
train, is it?
Tainted Rail.
Tainted Rail.
Tainted Rail. Yeah. We'll get Mick. We'll get Mick. What's his chops in it?
No.
Is that the Ticket to Ride crossover?
Now you've got me here because you know that Tainted Grail is something that I've been lusting after for quite a while. So this is the new one, isn't it? This is I'm going to call it. It's not an expansion. It's a whole new game, number 2. Is that right?
Yes, Kings of Ruin is a sort of an expandalone, as Mr. Tudor would have it.
Okay,
it's a standalone box. Yes, Kings of Leon, Ruin.
Oh, right. Okay, then. Let's have some options here. So, Mr. Gill, I think one game we haven't mentioned, which both me and Andy have backed, I do believe even Rory has pledged on this as well, is the Castles of Burgundy Special Edition.
Oh, yes.
So this is well regarded as one of the great games of our time. Which is the original Castles of Burgundy. I think this would be definitely one you have to play, regardless, because it is so well regarded. I'm looking through some options here. We've got Distilled, which is a card strategy game about distilling whiskey.
I had a look at that. It looks shite.
Right, well...
Should we just take the top off a bottle and drink that instead?
Yes,
I just talk shite about whiskey for an hour and a half instead.
I'm sorry to be negative on such a positive, but I was intrigued by that. Obviously, as a connoisseur of the old Ember Nectar, but but it doesn't look as what we expected. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I think it might not be what we're looking for.
If you fancy maybe a more straightforward, simpler adventure game than Distant and Sleeping Gods, Seventh Citadel should be coming out next year, which is a sequel to Seventh Continent.
Ah, yes.
Which is card-based story game. I'm just trying to think what would I'm difficult to pin you yet, Sid. You haven't quite made your mind up about what you like and what you don't.
No, and I think that's what's challenging me, and that's why I was looking for a recommendation of almost something even maybe different.
I know.
Oh, go on.
What he was talking about last time about liking things like Tabanuzi, and he's enjoyed some of the tea games.
Ooh.
Board and Dice, I assume it's Board and Dice, are releasing or will release the kind of super duper deluxe edition of Teotihuacan at some point this year. And you haven't played Teotihuacan yet, which we need to get on because it is, in my opinion, one of my favourite games. It is bloody brilliant. It is one of the highly regarded tea games. And yeah, so Board and Dice are kind of combining all of the expanded sets into one big box, which I am very tempted to get, but as I have everything already, it would just be a bit silly. So I strongly recommend you buy it instead, because Teotihuacan is an excellent game. And as you've enjoyed Tabanuzi and Tawantinsuyu and all of those others, I think that might be right up your street.
Oh, thank you very much. I shall keep a look into those. You have all got me quite intrigued by the choices that you guys have suggested. So it's going to be a good year this year.
Assuming it all comes out, of course.
Well, something will come out.
There's a massive swollen asterisk on this podcast as well. Stuff we're looking forward to, brackets, if it comes out.
Yeah. So on that note, is there anything we've missed off this list, Dan, did you think? I mean, you mentioned Tainted Grail, Kings of Ruin. I think both me and you have backed that, haven't we?
Yes. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I've got Lords of Ragnarok on here, which is I'm looking forward to, but it is just going to be Lords of Hellas in a different coat. With a couple of minor rule tweaks, I'm pretty sure of that. But I am still looking forward to it. It'll look pretty good. It'll play very well, I'm sure. I have at the bottom of my list here, as a kind of half-joke entry, although I shouldn't really joke, is Hell, The Last Saga, which we've been looking forward to for a couple of years, but Mythic are currently undergoing some changes. So Hell...
Fire sale, I think.
Yes. The all of the Darkest Dungeon stuff has been on a permanent sale for the last 3 months now, pretty much since Black Friday. So we shall see if and when Hell does actually manage to get out. Obviously, we don't want Mythic to go under, but it is, I think, struggling at the moment. What else is out there? I think that's my full list I've actually mentioned. Yes. Good Lord. What else is on yours?
I think I've mentioned everything I wanted to mention, to be fair.
I think you have. I mean, I could go through my Kickstarter list, but we'd be here all night.
Well, yeah, we could indeed go through what I'm backing, but yes, those are the things we've mentioned the things I'm definitely looking forward to. So, yeah.
Oh, keeping with the tradition of dry boring Euros, I did back, a while ago now, the Age of Steam Deluxe, which looks about as exciting as it sounds, I'm not going to lie. It's an Eagle Griffin game, so I know it's going to be very, very pretty and well presented and stuff, but given that I live in Bewdley and there's a steam railway here, I thought it was appropriate that I looked into it. But it does look suitably dry boring Euro style. Just, I have to play to type, don't I?
All right, well, let's finish off then. End of the year, what is your gaming New Year's resolution?
Gaming New Year's resolution. That's put us on the spot a bit, Mr. Tudor.
It is. So I'm going to tell you mine because I've actually thought about this. I thought about this while I was out walking the dog earlier today. It came into my head while he was busy finding some interesting smell in a bush. It suddenly just popped into my brain. My gaming resolution is to paint more gaming miniatures.
A worthy tenet, sir. Yes, excellent.
With a one particular goal, and that's so I can at least give Andy a run for his money in next year's painting competition.
See, Andy is also painting a lot of his board gaming miniatures at the moment. In fact, I'm just about to finish the base box for Imperial Assault. So if anyone wants to keep an eye on that, I am at 7 Valley Miniatures. And I think you're the Badger Brush, are you not, Mr. Tudor?
I am indeed the Badger Brush with underscores.
Underscores. Yes. So I'm just 7 Valley Miniatures because I live near a river. And yes, so that's good. I've planted a few more of them. So my goal is to get rid of Imperial Assault. But then I've got Lord of the Rings, Journeys of Middle-earth. And then we've got goodness knows what else as well.
I'm currently painting Journeys in Middle-earth, and I'm painting the orcs and ruffians, and quite frankly, I'm sick of the sight of orcs now. I'm sick of the sight of the colour brown.
I had that problem when I was painting the imps and the undead soldiers from Doom, because there's just so many of them. And they're nice miniatures, to be fair, but my God, I hate painting in batches. Jesus, it's dull. So yeah, I'm loving painting all the stormtroopers.
Right then, Sid, anything?
Well, mine's quite simple. I've started to accumulate a shelf of shame in RPG land, especially.
Happens to us all, mate.
And I just feel like I'm buying all this Gucci gear and Gucci books, and I'm sat on the shelf, and we never get them to the table. So I'm going to try Parder.
Good man.
RPG shelf of shame.
I might need to find new friends to play with, because I think I've maxed you lot out. But
I think this year I need to do a concerted effort to shift the games I'm no longer playing. So we have a pile already identified that I keep getting badgered about. Going, are you going to sell these? Yeah, eventually. So I do need to actually shift them. So there may be a few giveaways in the near future.
Right then, that will do us, I think. That was the games we've been looking forward to in 2023. We'll be back soon with a more typical podcast, our more usual format.
We've actually played a fair few games to talk
We've got
about.
a lot of games. We've probably got about 2 or 3 episodes worth of content we can put together now. Anyway, thank you for listening. We've been Polyhedron Collider. If you enjoyed this, please give us a review on iTunes or your podcast platform of choice. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere on the internet. Just look for Polyhedron Collider. And we are on the Board Game Geek Guild 2726. Until next time, happy gaming.
Tatty bye and Happy New Year.
Cheerio.